Well, you know, we've had some interesting conversations with folks through this week with our consulting. And it's funny how, I think I've said this before on these calls, how things kind of go in runs in terms of people's questions and concerns and insights and so on. And recently, in this last little while, we've had quite a few conversations with people about getting some understanding about what we do with our thinking, which is valuable. You know, like if you have a habit in your thinking and it's somehow disrupting your life or making you unhappy, it's good to see that habit. It's good to gain some understanding about that and maybe move away from it. That's true. But in all of these conversations, we've always ended up talking about the difference between learning about the content of thought, which has a value, and learning about the true nature of thought, the true power that resides in thought. You know, in the last conversation we had with somebody, we were talking about that, and I remembered something that Sid had said to me quite some time ago. To be honest, when I first heard it, I didn't quite get it. But first of all, I forgot that when he was talking about thought, he was talking about it as a spiritual force, a power, the power that we have to create the world we see on a moment-to-moment basis. But I was in my head when I was talking to him and asking him about, you know, things that we do with thought and how we get stuck with thought and all those kinds of things that we all ask. I mean, that's perfectly natural because that's how we've struggled in our lives. And he said something that really caught my attention, but I didn't understand it. And then we talked about it in this call in the last couple of days. He said, thought is the pathway to both worlds. Thought is the pathway into our personal world, our thinking, our view of life, our habitual issues in our head that we get hung up with. It's the pathway to that, but it's also thought as the true nature of thought is that it's also the pathway to the spiritual world. It brings you to that door. So really what there is there's this beautiful, and Sid used this term, I believe, a long time ago. There's this bridge, this mystical bridge. And as we learn about the principles, we learn to stand on the top, the arch of that bridge. And when we look towards the unknown, when we look towards the beautiful now that exists always, 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 no matter what we're doing, it exists, then thought takes us into that spiritual world, the world that resides deep within us. And it's beautiful because after we move in that direction, we have that experience of being closer to our true self, our innate wisdom, the knowledge that resides within. Then we look back through thought at our life, at our experience, and we see it in a completely different way, in a completely new way, because we're actually looking at it from a new place. So I think that's really an amazing thing, that thought is the pathway to both worlds. Now I only know this because I've listened to it, and I don't know how to explain this. It's not that I really understand it, but I also know that both worlds are the same. Everything is spiritual. Even when we're lost in the world of our thinking, it's still spiritual because it's nothing. Because it's just that same power of thought to create reality. The three principles, divine mind, divine consciousness, and divine thought, are only three so that our experience as human beings can be understood. They're really just one thing. Divine mind, divine consciousness, and divine thought, when my mind has been the most quiet and I've been more grateful for what I've been given, I feel what they are. And what they are is the divine power of love.